How old are you and what's your biggest problem right now? If you ever need help, then please know that there are many qualified people who would like to help you. https://www.isp.info/resources/crisis_centers. http://www.befrienders.org. http://www.suicidepreventiononline.org/gethelp/leafelinchat.aspx. http://www.samaritans.org/how-we-can-help-you-UK. https://www.leafeline.org.au/get-helpo. There are crisis services worldwide that are trained to provide support. They are designed to give temporary relief from feelings that are overwhelming you, and while they are unlikely to fix any underlying problems, can help you get through a tough hour/night/week. Chat services are usually available on these sites. In the US, calling 211 or going to their website is a free referral source. They have providers who will see you regardless of your ability to pay. Just as you would see a doctor when you are sick, you deserve to take care of your mental health. This is so scary, and I'm sorry you're facing this looming, very drastic change. I had a rapidly growing, very aggressive pseudo-tumor cerebri that crushed my optic nerve when I was a teen, and I was about 2 weeks away from permanent blindness. I remember waking up one day and it was like opening your eyes underwater. It is a condition that could reappear at any time in the future, and so this fear is something I can relate to, although I was very lucky. Thank you to Dr. Robert Avery of the Children's National Medical Center in DC for saving my vision when no one else could figure it out. I will say that my dear friend lost her hearing due to a very rare illness in her early 20s, and I have had the great pleasure of visiting her at Gallaudet University, a college for the deaf in DC, and meeting many of her friends who are also deaf, and some who are deaf-blind. One of her deaf-blind friends is one of the most brilliant, thoughtful, curious, and compassionate people I have ever met. He is entirely self-sufficient as well and continues to engage socially and go on adventures with many of his friends. Hearing loss is wildly different to vision loss, and losing your sight and the ability to take in the world around you in that way and see your loved ones is absolutely gut-wrenching. But meeting other people who live with a similar life-altering disability is very inspiring, and I hope something that will bring you comfort and community in the future. Being around the deaf community is something I am so grateful for. There is so much camaraderie, and by virtue of living with the loss of a sense, or more, the deaf and deaf-blind people I have met bring this incredible perspective to life that is so invaluable. Your loss will equip you with the tenacity and fervor for life that so many lack and take for granted. Albeit it does not ease the fear, but I believe there is much to gain despite what you are losing. Wishing you the best, not what I came here for. My wife of 35 years lost an eye when we were first dating in high school. She was 3 pounds at birth and had eye issues. 3 children later she lost all vision 30 days after earning her master's in elementary ed. It was the toughest 18 months of futile surgeries before reality set in. She eventually attended a school for blind and visual services that gave her the skills to be self-sufficient and enjoy life again. It wasn't too long after she got a job teaching at the same blind school where she met her bestie, a fellow teacher that was robbed of her vision from diabetes. My wife can pretty much do everything she's always done before, except drive. That's why she keeps me around. I have a genetic predisposition to lose my vision before 60, too. My dad has it, but he didn't know about it beforehand. He was frustrated that a lot of things were more complicated at first, but do not despair too much. Even though his blindness took him by surprise, he still reports that his life is rich and very full. He has new discoveries daily. The first ever was my mom's flower garden. He never noticed the aroma because the flowers were so pretty. Without realizing it, he only ever focused on that. I'm sorry for what lies ahead of us, and I hope you fare better than expected. My husband started losing his central vision at 17, and it finally stopped progressing around 33. He lost his ability to drive, unfortunately, so I'm his main ride. He has two jobs, one as a front desk hotel person and the other an office manager for a barber college. People think I'm lying when I tell them he's blind because he's managed to use tools and coping to play games, program, build PCs, fix cars, and help me raise two kids under 2. I'm just trying to give you a ray of hope. Humans are amazing at adapting. I hope you have a good night. 42, avid reader, gamer, and professional in the cybersecurity industry. I've got degenerative glaucoma and significant degradation of my eyesight in the past 3 years, -7.75, -20.5, and severe astigmatism and keratoconus, pointy cornea. I've been nearsighted my whole life, glasses at age 7, consistently worse since then. But really bad lately. I'm not a candidate for LASIK or glaucoma reduction surgery, 10% chance of relief, so my insurance that I pay about $2,500 a year for said no. I feel you, friend. At risk of sounding like a perpetual optimist, I just want to reaffirm the sentiment that you can still live a rich and full life, just maybe not exactly in the way that you expected. Take this with a grain of salt, of course, since I was born blind, so you could make the argument that, well, you don't know what you're missing. And you're not wrong. But I firmly believe that disability is not the real issue in society, it's people's lack of understanding. With the right tools and training available to you, there are so many things that can still be possible. I am going to go back to graduate school to get my master's. I have a friend who does rock climbing with basically no vision, my blind partner works as a software engineer for CVS, and my blind best friend does accessibility work for Google. These are just a few examples of people living fulfilling, empowering lives. I promise there will always be hope. But also, if you aren't really in a space to hear all of this, I super respect that. I hope that you'd consider therapy or disability support groups as you start going through your transition. I can imagine it will definitely be a hard journey. Depending on where you live, there are vocational rehabilitation services that you can look into, which can help to provide you with training and support to help you learn how to do tasks non-visually, or to whatever degree of sight feels/is relevant for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. But also, I'm a pretty hard Reddit lurker, so know that r/blind might actually be a better resource. Everyone's very friendly, supportive, and understanding, so please feel free to stop by and say hi. Good luck. You've got this. Same boat. I have retinitis pigmentosa and can tell it's getting worse. Good news is that if your condition is genetic based, then they have been doing great things with CRISPR. I keep holding out hope that they will find a way to reverse these genetics based eye diseases in our lifetime, and I think there is a good chance. Until then, I travel every opportunity one get. 30 and my love life, or lack thereof. I want to find someone, but it's hard. I've gone on over 30, maybe 40, I've lost count, dating app dates, and maybe 2 of those ended up lasting a couple of months. One of those was with a girl I really liked, but she abruptly ended it after 2 months, citing the whole no spark thing. Talking to women at bars has gotten me some numbers, but nothing substantial. I also hate hitting on women at bars, and they can definitely tell, but I need to try. I know people say get a hobby to meet people, but I don't know if it's that simple. I'm active, have a good job making good money, I volunteer, coach 5th grade basketball, and take my doggo to the park. I go out on most weekends. I have enough to keep me busy, and I feel as if I'm moderately attractive. People just seem so jaded and flaky and not willing to put in the time it takes to get to know someone. It's all about the spark, which I don't even know if that's real anymore. I know I felt it in high school and college with previous girlfriends, but now in my 30s it seems impossible to capture that feeling. Every day I feel more and more unlovable, and I'm not sure how much more rejection I can take. 31-year-old woman, I'm in the same boat. I don't even feel like I have the energy to date, but coming home to an empty apartment every night also sucks. Dating sucks. Being alone sucks. Yo man, I'm in a similar boat as you. I'm 33 and I broke up with my longtime girlfriend of 8.5 years last year. I've been on dates with women from online and from meeting them out and about. But the dating scene has changed so much for me. All I can say is, don't get into the trap of feeling like you're the problem. You're not. You just haven't met the right person for you. Consider it a blessing. You haven't met the person that will change that view. My advice is enjoy meeting people and stop looking for it. Go on dates, meet new people, keep what you're doing. But work on yourself more than anything. That's far more important than meeting a potential partner. Just work on being happy with being alone. That's what I've been working on the most. Makes a huge difference. People just don't do enough work on being happy alone. It's hard but worth it. 31 My biggest problem is finances. Even the other problems that I have, if you ask why more than twice, the final answer is going to be because we don't have enough money. My biggest problem is that my bank account gets driven into the negative within 4 days of getting paid, every 2 weeks, as soon as the minimum amount of bills get paid. And then, I have the other unpaid bills that end up being put off until the next paycheck, where the first round of bills go unpaid for 2 weeks. Rinse and repeat. Then there's my kids. My 10-year-old has ADHD and he's hyperactive. My 3-year-old is as energetic as 3-year-olds tend to be. But, we can't really go anywhere but our own backyard, because even using my gas to get us to and from the places would come back and bite me later. Gas costs money. So, on weekends we are pretty much stuck, unless we want to shell out money. Weekends usually tend to be stressful, because they feed off each other and they're just very energetic. I love them, but I also have ADHD, so I get overstimulated by them when they're both trying to run and scream. Other parents know the struggle. It's like, I love you but oh my goodness, go play, you're very loud and wiggly right now and I'm not vibing with this energy. My husband also has ADHD and it causes a lot of problems. He struggles so much with his mental health and he has been putting off going to a psychiatrist because we are so short on cash, and doctors are expensive, even with insurance. Last year, my daughter broke my nose, and since then I've been snoring heavily and getting horrible sinus headaches every week. My septum is now deviated, but even with insurance I can't afford to get that fixed. So I'm just walking around with constant headaches, a cosmetic nightmare in the middle of my face, and glasses that never fit right on the bridge of my nose. Can't afford the procedure, so I'm just walking around with a broken nose that never healed right. In addition to the sinus headaches, my body is constantly aching from the stress. I carry it in my shoulders and they're always knotted up and sore. Oh, and I have been getting what has been determined as letdown headaches every weekend. Every weekend. Because the stress of work and bills eases off a bit on weekends, and the lower cortisol levels trigger a migraine. My husband and I have been struggling. The constant financial stress has me obsessively searching for more ways to save more money, make more money, pay off bills faster, etc. It keeps me distant. Even when I put it out of my mind and try to relax, I'm still finding myself shutting everyone out because I am too stressed to handle normal life, on top of the nagging worries of how this bill or that bill is gonna get paid this month. We even argue over how much money we need. He thinks we are fine despite being in charge of our budget, but there's always something we are missing. Some random annual renewal gets overlooked, or some quarterly bill gets forgotten, or suddenly there's an unexpected emergency purchase that puts us in the negative. And because the man has ADHD, he sucks at prepping for emergencies. If we get a large sum of money, he's suddenly planning large purchases and vacations, and I'm freaking out because even if he goes over how we can afford it, we always end up in a huge bind after that money is spent. I feel like any time we get relief, he's suddenly figuring out all the ways we can waste it on stuff we don't need. I want to scream, stop bringing home junk from the dollar store. My bank account is in the negative and I need gas. It's so frustrating, because yeah, we have food, clean clothes, shelter, and our kids are loved and well taken care of. Nobody ever has to go without food, although I often end up taking ramen or soup to work for lunch, but bills are constantly getting paid a week or two late. We are up to our eyeballs in debt. We can't afford things like mental health care or fixing a broken nose, and our kids often become bored and hyper at home because we can't afford weekly trips to wherever they want to go. And even if we could, the weekend migraines usually have me out of the sunlight for the day, and they need to play outside more. All of it traces back to lack of money. Honestly, the only problem I have, that more money wouldn't almost immediately solve, is the Adderall shortage. If I could stop worrying about money all the time, fix my broken nose, get my husband the help he needs, wake up every day without a crippling headache, eat better lunches than ramen and cheap canned soup, and take my wiggly kids out to play on the weekends, that would be lovely. I also hate hitting on women at bars, and they can definitely tell, but I need to try. This is the dating paradox that sucks as a single man. It feels gross imagining you might be being the sleazy guy hitting on the uninterested girl in 2023. I guess that's better than it being the opposite of that, but it just feels impossible to make your intentions known without creeping someone TF out. Bars are better because everyone knows what you sign up for going there, but they are the worst setting imaginable to meet compatible people with all the distractions and noise. 60s. My mother has dementia, but she doesn't know it. She lives alone and is able to function on some level, but not without a lot of help. I am her only helper. I visit her daily and I listen to the same old tired stories about who wronged her in her life or who was perceived to have wronged her. She can't remember that I visited the day before, but she can remember the smallest slight from 40 years ago. She won't join us for holidays because my 5-year-old granddaughter with autism chose someone else to sit beside for dinner 3 years ago. And because she wasn't disciplined for that. So she stays at home alone and blames me for it. It's just so damn tiring. She's driven away all of her friends because of one perceived slight or another. I am the only one she has left, but only because I swallow my pride and take her abuse when she blasts me for a perceived slight. I don't argue with her because I keep telling myself, it's not her, it's the disease. I miss my mother, at least the one that I've known all of my life. I am actually looking forward to the day when she can no longer function on her own and has to go to assisted living. And I feel guilty about it. We are all living longer now than we were just a few years ago. But the medical advances we've seen recently for our physical bodies just gives us more time to develop mental issues. My father passed away because his body gave out, but I always knew even to the end that he loved me. It is much harder to endure this mental decline. As someone who works with the elderly, and clients with dementia and care management, my biggest advice is plan for care. Don't wait to see what happens, or what's to come, plan for it. It's a grieving process, yes, and it's not an easy thing to see happen, but be sure to look out for yourself if she only has you to depend on. Have you thought of bringing in a caregiver from a home care agency, or private caregiver at least twice a week to help your mother with her needs to give yourself a small break? The other thing I recommend is to do your research when choosing facilities to place loved ones in. Never go to a facility on a scheduled tour, they'll have their best act. Go on a random day and ask for a tour. Wishing you the best, and your mom is a lucky one to have you care for her. Just put my mom in a home at 58. She hates it. I'm 30. Absolutely heartbreaking, man. I feel like I've lost my mom a long time ago. But there is an air of peace about the fact that she is at least being taken care of and not homeless. I no longer have to worry if she has ate or can pay the bills. Just know that regardless of how tough it is, there are lots of people who are going through the same thing. And hopefully you can draw strength in the fact that you're not alone. This sounds eerily similar to my grandma. My mom had to live with her 4 days of the week to keep an eye on her while her dementia worsened. She was the sweetest person I've ever known until the disease took over. She was more angry, combative, and accused friends and family of stealing from her. She berated my mother on a daily basis. It was truly one of the worst things to witness. Someone who was once the brightest face in the room, turning into an ugly shell of her former self. It took years of this before she was bad enough to be put in a home. Then it was another slow 5 years of her withering away into nothing. In the end she couldn't even speak anymore. Just gibberish. I hated seeing her that way. And honestly was grateful she finally passed. Seeing a loved one go through that is the worst thing imaginable. Caregiver strain/burnout is real. I know it sounds like you don't have the time, but if you have the means you should force yourself to make time and find a therapist focusing on grief/loss now. It'll help a lot. As strong as you seem to be, you cannot endure that kind of stress and verbal abuse. At best it'll harm you, at worst it could eventually result in you harming her, whether you can imagine that happening or not. I'm a nurse, and your situation is more common than you think. You're not alone, Red Heart. This sounds awful. I'm 51 and mom has had Alzheimer's progressing over the past 5 to 6 years. I'm kind of surprised your mom is even functioning on her own. I'm guessing she's not actually functioning on her own but only continuing a charade of independence because you are making sacrifices to make it work. This is where I'm at with my parents, and I'm starting to draw boundaries, telling my dad, my mom is already beyond the point where she can make meaningful agreements, that they're going to have to go to assisted living. I'm their son and I will of course bend over backward, and have, to help them in an emergency, but ongoing chronic mental/physical impairment is not an emergency. I'm no longer okay with making this the new normal. I have my own life and kids I need to take care of. A lot of family members are not at all understanding about this, but I'm ready to tell them all to fuck off. Hang in there and draw your boundaries. You are not responsible for everything just because everyone else already gave up. 37 and I'm going blind. I don't know how long it will take, when I will be legally blind and unable to live my life with the richness, independence, and everything else I expected, but it's coming. It's a crushing inevitability. Every day that I get to see my loved ones' faces is a gift. Edit, I have cone dystrophy. It started as little falling stars in the peripheral vision of one eye and has progressed to completely blurred out central vision in that eye. In lit conditions, my eye has a noise or strobe light effect, like when a normal person looks directly into bright light. My other eye is normal for now, but will eventually go the same way. If you experience any strange symptoms with your eyes, see an optometrist right away. Too many of you are saying you have things going on that haven't been checked. I'm lucky to live in Canada, so I drove straight to the optometrist the day my symptoms started and was immediately sent to a retinal specialist and had testing done. It's a lot of detail, but so many people are asking, I thought it would be easier just to post here. Also thanks for all the support you guys. It is very sweet of you all.